when the Historical Commission of the city was resurrected in order to ask the city to purchase the Haley House, which had become available. And then to realize that when the city did purchase it, then to realize that in order to restore the Haley House, that we had to become an organization, a nonprofit organization, so that we could raise funds for that. I think the way that the people that were involved all came together to work towards that and to make really sacrifices.
What can I tell you about our first president, Mary Lib Joyce? She was a wonderful person. I thoroughly enjoyed working with Mary Lib. She was a creative person. She and J.V. Morgan, Jim Morgan's father. I'll never forget what J.V. told me one time about Mary Lib. He says, I've been on the High Point Historical Commission for 16 years. I have never worked so hard in those 16 years as I have under Mary Lib Joyce in 1 month since she's come on board and been the president. I thought that was indicative of Mary Lib. She never, ever gave up on any idea.
My dad was passionate about history, and therefore he brought a number of people together to start the idea of having a High Point Historical Society and a group. And of course, out of that came the museum later on. And from my dad, working with him for a number of years before he passed away, I agree that it is important, and I'm thankful that my dad had the vision and actually the hard work to make the museum work for the great city of High Point.
But it was the generosity of so many of the early people on the board of the Historical Society. Of course, the Junior League gave the money.
$25,000 to restore that whole building. You couldn't do that today for $200,000. Wouldn't be possible. The reason we were able to do it so inexpensively was because we had expert help from John Bivens Jr., who was working for Old Salem, Mesda, very knowledgeable about old buildings. And he was even able to bring Frank Horton with him, the director of Mesda, to look over the project and to advise us on the way to go. And John recommended to the committee that we get Sam English, member of an old Randolph County family, to come and be the carpenter for it. Now, Sam was well on into his age by that time, and he worked slowly, but he worked carefully, and he knew how that house should look. And so Sam came to work for us for a nominal fee, and it was my job to pay Sam off every Friday. Well, every Friday, I had 2 little children at that time. It was a little hard for me to get them to go, so I had to promise them ice cream afterwards, you know. And they laugh about that to this day. But we all went on a Friday, and we paid Sam English.
Then, because this land was here, it became a feasible thing to do to build a museum that everybody wanted to see done. And the money had to be raised, and was raised from the community. After the challenge gift from Ms. Armentrout, I think the thing that impressed me so much was how, when we raised the money, but of course it was paid in pledges, and a lot of times the pledges wouldn't come in as timely as they might have. And I think the fact that J.V. Morgan and Henry Chavis and Bob Rankin would go to the bank and personally sign they borrow money and personally sign those notes, showed the kind of faith that they had, and gave us all the faith to continue to go on to continue working.
When I first moved back home 40 years ago, I came to the museum, and after leaving D.C., it just wasn't my cup of tea. These young ladies got involved over here. And rather than filling up a table, let's say you're celebrating Veterans Day, and they would bring out tables and throw all these canteens and helmets and things with no story whatsoever. Now, I found out you got this group of people that want to bring forth a story with an artifact. That's so important. That's what gets people in here, the story, then the item. How do they go together? So I'm excited about that.